lives in a pineapple under the sea. A criminal and a complete menace to society. That's who. The Flying Dutchman trapped souls and roamed the underworld for centuries, becoming a feared legendary pirate. But once the menace in Squarepants and his starfish friend came to the underworld, even the ghost pirates were disturbed by their behavior. Meanwhile, the movie producers decided that Plankton will show up for only 5 seconds, and it was just enough for us to charge him for existing with criminal intent. Because today, we're counting the crimes in the SpongeBob movie, Search for Squarepants. And we'll start with SpongeBob himself, because he's not as innocent as the propaganda claims, but a menace dressed in SquarePants. He squished poor Plankton with his foot, and as if that wasn't enough, he didn't even care. He just continued walking carelessly. This counts as assault and would be enough for up to 1 year in Bikini Bottom's jail. And when the two dummies get together and decide to cause public disturbance, nobody in the Bikini Bottom can catch a break. Disturbing the poor Squidward with their yelling is a noise disturbance that would be enough for a fine of 100 sand dollars, if anybody actually cared. SpongeBob running count, 1 year prison plus 100 sand dollars fine. Patrick running count, 100 sand dollars fine. SpongeBob and Patrick behave like a menace to society wherever they go. Bikini Bottom insurance companies probably have special protection against these two. So the crazy duo visits the Shipwreck amusement park to ride on a scary roller coaster. But SpongeBob is too afraid to ride. Once in there, they scream and run, which can be counted as another public disturbance. And the staff almost called the Bikini Bottom PD. This kind of public disturbance would be enough for a fine that would be at least 500 sand dollars, especially since they do it all the time. SpongeBob running count, 1 year in prison plus 100 plus 500 sand dollars. Patrick running count, 100 plus 500 sand dollars. Frustrated and sad because of his inability to ride the roller coaster, SpongeBob lies to Patrick that he can't ride it because he promised Mr. Krabs that they will ride it together. So they go to Krusty Krab where Mr. Krabs covers for SpongeBob, saying they can't go ride it because the restaurant is busy. Patrick doesn't understand he's being played because he's Patrick. And then SpongeBob tells Mr. Krabs about his fear of riding the roller coaster. So, Mr. Krabs tells SpongeBob about his brave pirate days to inspire him, explaining that in his youth, he was a swashbuckler who sailed with the legendary Flying Dutchman in the underworld, a place filled with ghostly pirates, disastrous hurricanes, and terrifying monsters. Mr. Krabs also shows SpongeBob the swashbuckler certificate as evidence of his bravery. The story inspires SpongeBob to earn respect and bravery, but Mr. Krabs tells him to go and clean the toilets. Once in there, SpongeBob stomps his foot and a vent emerges, showing a mysterious light inside. The swashbuckler certificate gets swept inside it, so SpongeBob and Patrick set out to prove their bravery by going through the dark vents to retrieve the certificate. SpongeBob goes inside and navigates the vents, but he runs scared after seeing a sea isopod. Soon, they fall and discover a secret basement, which contains a hideout filled with the pirate antiques. They wear pirate outfits, and SpongeBob tries to get a hold of being a pirate, but clumsy as he is, he stumbles on and falls over. SpongeBob and Patrick's crime here would be criminal misappropriation, an unauthorized use or conversion of another person's movable property for one's own use, because they stumbled upon all this stuff. And in Bikini Bottom, an appropriate fine for it would be 500 sand dollars. And they would probably also be sent to spend another night in jail, like on numerous other occasions. Like the time when SpongeBob was confined to a jail cell in a bunny outfit for not inviting the police to his party. Or when he was arrested for using a sitar without a license while protesting the highway. In Bikini Bottom, nothing makes sense. You go to jail for small-time offenses like stealing a balloon, while criminals like Plankton can commit serious crimes and still be returned to the status quo for the next episode. And Squidward gets framed for every little thing, but a menace like SpongeBob always finds his way out of jail. But not this time. This time, it's a fine, and if he doesn't pay on time, there is community service on top of that. SpongeBob running count, 1 year plus 100 plus 500 plus 500 sand dollars plus 1 night in jail. Patrick running count, 100 plus 500 plus 500 sand dollars plus 1 night in jail. And while exploring pirate stuff in this hideout, SpongeBob discovers the Dutchman's hornpipe, which he then blows after it tells him to do it in order to become a swashbuckler. The pipe tells him to blow it, so he does. That's it. No questions asked. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? A complete dumbass. The portal opens and the Flying Dutchman ship emerges from it. By doing this, SpongeBob created a public hazard because he allowed a pirate ghost to enter Bikini Bottom and be loose in a populated area. So public endangerment is another charge, opening a gateway for a ghost pirate with centuries of criminal history. SpongeBob and Patrick went from annoying citizens to public menaces with this one. It's also an unauthorized use of dangerous technology, the Flying Dutchman's hornpipe. The total sentence for these crimes would be up to 5 years in prison. SpongeBob running count: 1 year plus 100 plus 500 plus 500 sand dollars plus 5 years in prison. Patrick total count: 100 plus 500 plus 500 plus 5 years in prison. SpongeBob tells the Flying Dutchman about his ambition to become a big guy using the Swashbuckler certificate. Of course he opens up immediately, because if there's one thing SpongeBob is good at all, it's telling dangerous strangers exactly what they need to manipulate him. This is like telling a scammer your social security number. And no doubt SpongeBob would do that as well, because he may be stupid, but he's also dumb. So the Flying Dutchman accepts them on his ship and decides to show SpongeBob true swashbuckling. He manipulates him into signing the contract, which the naive yellow sponge does immediately. No questions asked. But in reality, Dutchman's plan was to break the curse using SpongeBob's innocent soul and naive nature. Mr. Krabs' crime would be indirect endangerment of an employee. And not just any employee, but an employee of the month for 374 times. Because SpongeBob wouldn't even be in the mess he was in if Mr. Krabs didn't push him to prove himself. He launched the entire story about his bravery, and in the end, it turned out to be a lie, because Mr. Krabs was the ship's fry cook, who was humiliated for blowing bubbles. If these manipulative lies were counted as a crime under Bikini Bottom laws, Mr. Krabs could face up to 2 years in prison. And who would run the restaurant in his absence? Squidward or SpongeBob? Well, we know Squidward wouldn't care much, so SpongeBob would run it and would probably hire Patrick, and they would burn it within a week, causing Mr. Krabs to have a heart attack in Bikini Bottom's jail. But in the end, Mr. Krabs redeemed himself. Together with Squidward and Gary the Snail, he immediately organized a rescue mission to save SpongeBob, fully regretting putting him in danger. They rush quickly to the paddy wagon, with the clear goal to save SpongeBob from the underworld and the Flying Dutchman's tricks. But the Flying Dutchman's crew is not made up of soft pirates. They are a dangerous group with complete loyalty to their captain. Barb is one of those loyal sidekicks who always has the captain's back. She is the second in command pirate on the ship and a fish not to be messed with. Her crimes? Well, apparently she isn't such a big fan of Patrick. Can you blame her? She conspired with the captain to... how do I put this in a family-friendly way? Make him spend a few nights at a funeral home. Why? Because he's an annoying distraction who was a terrible threat to their plan to use SpongeBob to remove the Dutchman's curse. So her crimes include conspiracy to commit murder, aiding and abetting a criminal, plus additional piracy crimes. For piracy alone, she could be looking at life in prison, and for conspiracy to commit murder and aiding and abetting a criminal, from 15 to life in prison. But if she were charged for these crimes in the Bikini Bottom court of law, the jury would likely understand her reasons to get rid of Patrick, and they would probably let that one slide. So she would get some time for piracy alone. Since she wasn't the mastermind of the operation, we can count it as 5 years. But let's examine the real mastermind and his crimes, the Flying Dutchman himself. Barb total count, 5 years. Flying Dutchman's story is one of those emotional ones. Stranded on a boat, tricked by an ancient curse. A curse that transformed him from a human into a ghost pirate doomed to roam the sea and underworld. And the only thing that could lift his spirit is a pure-hearted, innocent soul. And guess who that naive, innocent soul is? Dutchman manipulates SpongeBob to sign the Dutchman's deal. This counts as coercion. SpongeBob wants to prove himself as the big guy, so the Flying Dutchman uses his insecurity against him. And SpongeBob is dumb as a sponge, so you don't really have to be a brilliant manipulator to trick him. Then, after manipulating SpongeBob to sign the shady contract, he takes both him and Patrick to the underworld under false pretenses. That's kidnapping by deception, as they technically agreed without understanding what they were agreeing to. Dumbest duo of the Bikini Bottom. And what did the Dutchman really want to use the SpongeBob for? To break his curse, of course! His curse! So Dutchman's initial crimes are coercion and kidnapping by deception. In the Bikini Bottom Court of Law, he'd be looking at 7 years for each of these charges. Since kidnapping is a federal crime, it can be counted as 20 to life. But this trial takes place in the chaotic and often unfair Bikini Bottom's court, so we can count it as 7 years. Dutchman running count, 7 plus 7 prison. Later, we see that the Dutchman used the same deception to trick Mr. Krabs in order to bring him to the underworld. So that's another 2 counts of coercion and kidnapping by deception, and an additional 14 years in prison. Dutchman running count, 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. But these crimes are just the beginning, because the Flying Dutchman is the legendary pirate and his illegal mischiefs are obvious. The first one being piracy itself. Dutchman commits theft, assault, psychological torture, and collects illegal soul contracts. Piracy alone as the federal crime would be enough to send the Dutchman to prison for life. For theft and assault, he'd be looking at up to 1 year for each crime. For physical torture, up to 10 years, and for illegal soul contracts, up to 20 years. So pretty much his life of piracy would be over quickly if he faced these charges in Bikini Bottom or human court of law. Dutchman running count, 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus life in prison, plus 1 plus 10 plus 20 equals life plus 59 years. But somehow, this wasn't enough for the legendary captain, so he broke the curse by using SpongeBob and then went to Santa Monica. It was easy because the naive SpongeBob never became suspicious, and the thought that he's being played simply never entered his head. Once he realized he was being tricked, it was too late. Almost. Because the captain had time until sunset, and if the curse was not reversed by then, SpongeBob and Krabs would be forced to be ghost pirates forever. And that would be hilarious. Who lives in the underworld on a ship? Dumb pirate in Squarepants. Once in Santa Monica, the Dutchman went on a rampage. He pushed and attacked civilians, and even stole ice cream from a child. After being trapped for 500 years on a ship, the captain decided he deserved some fun. His additional crimes in human form would be theft and assault, which adds another 2 years to his overall sentence. Doesn't change much anyways when he's already facing life in prison, so why not have some fun? And some ice cream. But his fun didn't last long. In the end, SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs come to Santa Monica to retrieve the hornpipe and destroy it in order to break the curse that was passed on to SpongeBob. But the Dutchman takes the hornpipe and goes to the one place where SpongeBob wouldn't dare to go, a roller coaster. Fortunately, SpongeBob awakens his bravery and goes to face the captain for the final battle. This final roller coaster ride adds reckless endangerment to the 3 of them, and the sentence for it we can count as 3 months in prison. SpongeBob total count, 1 year plus 100 plus 500 plus 500 sand dollars plus 5 years in prison plus 3 months. Mr. Krabs total count, 2 years plus 3 months. Dutchman total count, life plus 59 years plus 2 years plus 3 months. In the end, there's one more crime. Squidward, the brave member of the rescue team which saved the 2 dummies, was left behind, and he didn't even want to go to the underworld. This cold-blooded, inconsiderate crime adds another charge of reckless endangerment to SpongeBob, Patrick, and Mr. Krabs. But these charges would probably be dismissed because, well, nobody in Bikini Bottom would care too much. Meanwhile, the Flying Dutchman's punishment is worse than life in prison. He is condemned to be a dishwasher aboard the very ship he once ruled as a ruthless captain, whose orders were never questioned. And the worst part? He, a legendary, fearless pirate, was defeated by a clumsy minimum wage fast food fry cook. So that's it, all the crimes of the movie. Conclusion? If you put SpongeBob and Patrick anywhere, it will end as a disaster, in any timeline or any place. Because these 2 are Dummy and Dumber, and the citizens of the Bikini Bottom are lucky they don't have a nuclear power plant, because it wouldn't be long until these 2 dummies caused a nuclear meltdown. If you liked this video, check out this one.